Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with Video Game Soundtrack Week. And unlike yesterday, we're going to check out a song from a game that I've actually played. Today's song comes at us from the album, or the game Bloodborne. Now, I definitely have not made it up to wherever this track would be. It is called Laurence, the First Vicar, from the Old Hunters. I think that was some sort of expansion. I never made it past the first boss. 3 hours and like 15 deaths, and I haven't touched it since. So let's get into this track and see what's going on. Very majestic, proper, powerful. Yes, violins are giving it a lot of drive. And of course, it's very ominous. I mean, it's a visually horror-themed game, so I kind of imagine a lot of this gothic horror thematic element being in their music. Yeah, lots of impending danger. Really nice spell to bring back the energy and to transition back into the vocals, the choir. Yeah, and we're in 6/8, which has a tendency to feel like a march, and it certainly does. There's some elegance and regalness. Yeah, so last section we had cymbals on 1 and 4, just really accenting that march, hammering home that concept of, like I said, regal majesty. I really like the violin's eighth notes clashing against the choir's dotted, not really clashing, but the dotted quarters, and the 6-to-1 ratio going on there. Actually, they weren't dotted. Some of them were, but we're also getting so no, it would have been 16ths in the violins, and then the 8ths on the choir. Yeah, just huge sound here. And since the song is about a single person, it's Laurence, it just makes him feel larger than life. I almost wonder if that was the end of the song, and this is part of the extended version where we just revisit an earlier section. Because this should be about the halfway point, no? Almost precisely. Yeah, so far this is just a perfect doubling up. And we're going to go into our swell to bring it back, to bring the vocals back. We got the cymbals back. Because they do use 4-bar phrasing for a lot of their lines, it can be felt in a very slow 4, which is pretty cool. But being that it's very March-like, and that a lot of the lead lines, the vocals and the violins, are working in groups of 3, I definitely feel this in a 6/8 feel. And, you know, of course, the instrumentation lends me right to March, and a lot of marches are in 6/8, so... and that's where it ended in the middle before the repeat. So yeah, the extension to me just feels like uh, playing it again. I don't know if that's was intended by the composer. And oh dang, I feel real bad because I did not mention the composer at all. Um, None of those sound familiar. I think I put the composer's name in the well, I did put the composer's name in the title of the video, but uh Tsukasa Saitoh composed this. Um yeah, a phenomenal song. It does a lot of real heavy lifting at providing character to the character, this Laurence figure. Um like I said, I haven't played a lot of Bloodborne, so I don't know how much screen time this character gets as far as characterization goes. Maybe seeing how they act before probably fighting them, since that's like the whole game is combat. Um, but assuming that for the most part, you walk into his chambers and start a battle, like kind of the gist I got from the little bit I've played. The song does a huge job at kind of explaining who he is, assuming that some of these themes I'm picking up on can be applied to him. It is a march, so there is a lot of strength. There's a lot of width in the notes, and just the entire sound as a whole is just an extremely wide um, soundscape. Then we have ideas like regalness, stoicness, punctuation, as far as being on time. He's punctual. The whole song just has this steady stomp to it. Bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. It's a very rigid song, and it makes me think of a person who is very structured in life, and very powerful. There's this regalness to it that the march is giving in. Also, a lot of the strings and brass sound have this royalty effect to it. Makes him seem like somebody who's very powerful, maybe has command over things, and definitely likes things in a certain way. Um, yeah, very controlling in a sense. Has a specific manner that he likes everything done in, and if it's not done that way, um, I could see him actually being somewhat of an angry. I was gonna say like angerous, and that's not a word. An angry type of character. Because we do see these moments of pensive thought. I think there's two or three times in the core 4.5 minutes. I'm not talking about the repeat. I'm just looking at like the main loop. There's like two or three times when everything kind of quiets down a little bit, and it makes me think that this character is pensive, maybe some sort of tactician. He has moments of calm, but they also quickly explode into these huge swells, into very wide tracks. The big violins, the big brass come back in. We get a huge layered choir with male and female vocals just really towering over everything else. I don't know if anybody else got that. Um, but especially in the moments when the female voices came in, it almost feels like the choir is sitting so much higher than the rest of the band. And they're kind of like singing down onto me and onto the rest of the instrumentation. I don't know if anybody else gets that visual. I certainly do, though. But yeah, so we have these quiet moments of rest and calm that quickly swell into the biggest parts of the song. And I kind of get the idea that he is, like I said, some sort of tactician or somebody who enjoys, pensive moments of calm and quiet, but he is quick to anger, especially when things do not go his way. Like I said, he seems to be somebody who's very particular about manner and actions and the way things need to be done and things going to plan. So these are all characteristics that I'm pulling out just from the song itself. and that is phenomenal. Now, like I said, I don't know who this character is. I didn't do any reading into him, and I have not played the game far enough to see him in any capacity, so I could be completely off with this reading. But that's the ideas and themes that I'm getting from the song, and being that the song is titled after this character, my assumption would be that it is some sort of a theme for the character, and that the composer would have applied the characteristics of Laurence into the music that was written. Um, Now, of course, there's also undertones of tension and danger, risk, some of that gothic horror that shows up. I don't know if any of that actually has to do with his characteristic, or if that's more fitting thematically with the rest of the game's themes. It's definitely based in some gothic horror visual ideas, and the couple of tracks that I got to listen to in my short playtime um, definitely lean towards that sort of high tension, something spooky coming down the alley kind of feeling. And I don't know if that weaved its way into this track just by osmosis, because the whole game is based on that theme, so those ideas need to work their way into every track somehow, or if he is maybe some sort of presence that is more dangerous or more terrifying than anything else in the story, and that those themes are in there to portray the danger that he presents to the main character, the player. So I don't know where that fits in, but I do really enjoy a lot of the characterization that goes in here, and I'm curious how the rest of the soundtrack compares to this, because, like I said, I do expect that the horror aspects and the tension that comes with that, but the majestic march is not something that I would expect given what I know about the game. So it's really cool to hear that, and it's also what makes me think that it applies to the character a bit more than to something to attribute to just being part of the game soundtrack. Um, I mentioned that one of the things I really enjoyed was the fact that you could listen to this in a typical March fashion, which would be, I don't know, like 100, 120 BPM, 6/8, or you could feel this as a very slow 4/4. So you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that the choir is typically hanging on to, where the 1, 2, and 3 is usually a dotted quarter, and it's how you get the ba 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 ba. So there you get your 6, and also if you listen into the violins, they're moving pretty rapidly with a pedal note on 16th notes, and they also fit within this 6/8. But if you listen to a lot of the larger notes that sort of accent what would be beats 1 and 4 in a 6/8, you can feel a slower 4/4. So you get the ba 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 ba, and there's your 4. And I think a lot of marches, especially when they go for the emphasis on the first beats, which would be 1 and 4, you're gonna fall into this. But particularly here, I think it stands out a little bit more than other marches I've heard, which tend to just feel more 6/8. This one, I think, kind of swings in between, depending on what the section is and how prominent the groupings of 3 feel versus the slower 4. There are some sections that definitely, to me, they stood out a little bit more as 4/4, and it's usually when the choir stepped out a bit, and that strong triplet pulse, or the 3 pulse. It would be more of a triplet in 4, but yeah, that strong 3 pulse kind of backs out a little bit, and you can kind of start feeling a slower 4 to it. And yeah, I dig that, how it kind of switches back and forth a little bit. But like I said, because I view this as a march, my brain instantly kicks into 6/8, and even if this is written in 4/4 with heavy triplet use, I don't think I'd even if I had the sheet music in front of me, I would still hear it in 6/8. It's just that's kind of ingrained into me. Um, Instrumental voices though, just phenomenal choice. We have strings, brass, low end choir, and high end choir. Not too much in the middle. We have some really high female vocals, and then some lower male vocals, and I think that leaving out that gap in the middle does a fantastic job of creating a sense of excess, which drives into this idea of majesty and power, having access to the excess rather than having to deal with the mundane in the middle. So that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so like I was saying, no, the strings, the brass, and then the gap in the choir. It's a lot of voices that we tend to associate with strength and power and royalty. And yeah, it's just like I said, fantastic voice selection. Even if the song wasn't the powerhouse it would still have those ideas in it because of the instruments that were chosen. Um, but then, like I said, just went the extra mile and just made these super wide sections. Uh, Bit of reverb throughout there, but also I'd say just a lot of layering. There's just so much going on here. Even if it's not musically on the paper, a lot of stuff going on, I would say that there's several instruments being played per instrument, which probably doesn't make too much sense if you haven't played orchestral or symphonic music before, or even some jazz. But say you have two violin parts, you still might have like 10 to 15 violinists playing those, and half would be playing the first part and half would be playing the second. And it's to create width. It's the same reason you would double track vocals in a rock or a pop song, because you want to give it that extra punch, that extra oomph. Um, so yeah, there's so many layers here, even if there aren't that many individual musical lines in the sheet music. There's just so many layers and individual instruments playing here, and that's definitely how you're going to get those super huge wide explosive moments like this with what I would assume is purely acoustic instrumentation. Yeah, phenomenal track though. Love everything about this. And assuming that I'm kind of on the nose or close with my concept that the themes of the music line up with the themes of the character, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to look up more of this soundtrack and possibly more of Tsukasa Saitoh, just because I mean the way that this marries character and music into one idea is phenomenal. Um, So, yeah, another really good pick from the community after yesterday's Doom track, which again just fit with the concept of what you do in the game. So, really, really good stuff. I'm looking at some of the stuff that could be popping up the rest of the week, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to tie some of these themes together from music to game because, like I said, I don't really know any of this. Yeah, there's just I mean it's up to the it's tomorrow and Thursday is going to be random selections from here. So, uh there's just a good chance that we're going to pick something that I just have no idea what the themes of the game or the themes of characters are, and I'm just not going to be able to make that connection. But so far I think we're doing pretty good. I think the music has fit with the games themselves, which is to me just really strong musical writing if you're doing soundtracking. If your soundtrack isn't connecting with the artwork it's paired with, whether it's a video game or an audiobook or a film, it isn't just about nailing an emotion. It's about creating a musical adaptation of what else is going on. Right? That's where we get themes and leitmotifs from when characters appear on screens. We want that connection, that auditory connection with an event or a character. If the song is tense and you just write a song with tension in it, it'll work, but it's not going to elevate the film, and the film's not going to elevate the work. It's why the music that we remember tends to be the ones that evoke the strongest emotions. It's not just a song that was playing in the background during a town, it's a song that helped make the town feel like a specific, unique town from this film or from this game, rather than, like I said, just a generic town. And you can extrapolate that any way you want. Just like here, this is not just a typical bad guy song. This is not just a typical tense song. This song, I believe, characterizes this person very well. It fits him as thematically, and that's what I look for in soundtrack music. And it's a completely different world than writing music for your own music to exist on its own. Completely different world, completely different thought process, and I do not envy the people who do it. It is a fun task to do, to write music within limitations and with certain concepts, but some people are better at it than others. Some people just really are good at writing what they want to write, and they end up writing phenomenal stuff. And like I said, I do not envy people who decide to go into soundtracking. It is a very different world, but I do envy their skill to be able to pull this off and to capture ideas musically like this. It's always phenomenal to listen to. All right, that wraps this one up. Those are my thoughts on Tsukasa Saito's Laurence, the First Vicar from the Bloodborne soundtrack. Just where you guys come in, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought, if you enjoyed it or not. Anything that stood out to you. If you have played Bloodborne, I guess you want to give me some of your stories about the game, or maybe about the specific song or this character. Let me know. Hit me up in the comments. There's a description box above that with links adjacent to the channel. If you'd like to join the Discord community, chat with some of the rest of the people in the Critical Reaction community, chat about music or anything. Actually, we do have a video game section. It's not super, I don't want to say pop. It doesn't move super fast. It's not like the music chat room. But we are a music oriented community, so that makes sense. But we do have some really cool conversation in there from time to time. If you want to talk about Bloodborne, there are a couple of people who enjoy it. As you can see, it's popped up in our poll, so there's definitely people in the community who enjoy it. But yeah, if you want to join the Discord and chat with the rest of the people in this fantastic community, a link is in the description. And like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, with the random song selected from the top half of the poll, the more popular selections, and then Thursday will be the lower random, and Friday will be my personal pick. And yeah, this one's gonna be fun, I think. Bit of my childhood in there, and also pretty cool is that the composer is not completely unknown. He's kind of big in the rock scene. I don't know if I'd say he's a household name, but not. I mean, part of a pretty big band. So pretty cool to see that he went on to compose stuff. Sort of like Danny Elfman, which I just found out like, I don't know, 3 years ago about Danny Elfman. I thought he was like this classically trained composer who's just been composing music his whole life, and then I found out that he was lead singer, I think, of Oingo Boingo. It blew my mind. Like, what? Oh man, crazy times we live in. All right. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.